afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. And welcome to this week's live training. Again, before we get started, just want to check that you can see, hear us all okay. So Mike, Terry, Luke, can you all speak to make sure that the sound's working? And if you can hear
Hi, folks.
Just give us a hello in the chat box so we know that everything's working.
Afternoon, all.
Afternoon. Good morning. Guten Tag. Bonjour. Hola.
You're showing off now, Luke.
That's about it. Don't ask me to speak in other languages.
Just give us hello in the chat box. Let us know you can see and hear us okay, and we're going to get started in just a few seconds.
I've emailed you that information, Drew. But hi, Andy. Hi, Inez. Hi, John. Hi, Don. Hi, Perry. Tom. Laura. Hello. Bill Blair. Hi, Nick. Hello, Nick. Hello to you, buddy.
I've had a couple. Sorry.
Are you all right? Good
Pretty
stuff.
well, thank you. You?
Yeah, good.
Good stuff. So it looks like it's working okay. So welcome to what's the day? It is Thursday, the 3rd of February, 2022. It's now 2 minutes past 3 UK time. And welcome to this week's live training where, again, like we've done a few of the months, we're interviewing one of our clients to hear how they've adapted or taken what we teach, applied it to their business and see what results we've got. So we've got Luke Dalton on today. Again, some of you will know, would have seen about the call. I think, Luke's sort of headline story is that, and you may have seen a Facebook post a couple of weeks ago, that I think, how long have you been business now, Luke? Is it just over a year?
Yeah, 13 months this month.
13 months. So yeah, obviously new business, start a business, but in Luke's first year, he was able to generate a 7-figure business or 7-figure revenue. So we're going to be talking to Luke about how he did that, what were some of the biggest mistakes he made, some of the things that worked really well, some things didn't work quite so well, and yeah, I guess some of the behind the scenes mindset stuff that helped Luke get there. Yeah, Terry, anything you want to add to that?
No, just to say that I'm really looking forward to this interview. Yeah, just really looking forward to it. So onwards and upwards. Let's rock and roll.
Just before we do so, just for whether you're listening, as always, feel free to ask any questions that you like. Put them in the chat box. As and when they, come up or if they're relevant, we'll post them to Luke. So yeah, I think I always enjoy these sessions because I think you can get more from our clients than you can from us. So yeah, don't be afraid to ask questions, and then we'll pass them on to Luke.
Excellent. So Luke, you said 13 months, and I know you were saying earlier it's been the best 13 months of your life. But that aside, talk me through where you were. Talk me through where you were 14, 15 months ago. Yeah, because we spoke. In fact, I remember we were chatting, doing some chat on Facebook. So tell me where you were when we first started talking, and where we are now.
Oh,
yes.
God.
No. First of all, just tell me where you were then, 15 months ago when we first started talking.
Okay, so I 9 years experience in the industry. Built a number of delivery teams and recruitment businesses for other entrepreneurs and other people that wanted to build a recruitment business. Made a bit of a career out of that. I had just come out of a contract where workplace bullying took place, I guess is probably the say. I was really at probably my lowest. I don't know why I decided there and then in the middle of the pandemic to go, yeah, do you know what? Let's start a recruitment business, do it myself. And when Terry and I started talking, I was absolutely hating doing BD, to be brutally honest. In fact, I hated it so much that I reached out to Terry because it was all retained and it was guaranteed revenue. I thought, yeah, do you know what? If that means I don't have to make cold calls, I'll do that. And yeah, then thus ensued a conversation for about 4 months actually before we 3 or 4 months before we engaged. Just before I engaged, obviously, it is a significant investment when you're a startup. And before I actually joined out, I had someone reach out to me, and in a few colourful words, tell me what Terry was like, and I shouldn't engage with him, and it was an interesting conversation, but I think we kicked off in January, didn't we? I think it was
January, February, yeah.
January, February, we kicked off, and I haven't looked back since, personally.
Yeah, so all joking, I'm glad to share that. Yeah, so somebody that we used to work with, but here's what we say: if you do what we share with you, we kind of know it's going to work. But somebody that we worked with didn't do this stuff and then complained that it wasn't working. We said, but you're not doing this stuff. And then I was in conversation with Luke on Facebook, I believe, just chatting. And she reached out to Luke, which I thought was really, some of you know who it is, by the way. I'm not going to say who it is. I said, oh, you don't want to work with those guys, their stuff doesn't work. And understandably, I totally get this. Luke came back to me saying, somebody just told me that they worked for you and it didn't work. So yeah, that would have put doubt in anybody's mind. And I think it's quite understandable as well. If somebody out of the blue just says that, but and the point you've made there about not enjoy business development. I mean, you made that quite clear the very first time we got talking on Facebook. And bear in mind, by the way, this is Facebook chat, so we're just going backwards and forwards. I've never met Luke before, but just engaging. And you were always up front. Look, the fact is, I don't like business development. I just want to ask you something on that. What was it about business development that you didn't actually like?
My introduction to recruitment was very much, here's a phone, here's a desk, you don't actually get a chair until you made your first deal. Some people might remember those days. My old boss was an XS3, so it was very hardcore sales, and it just turned put a sour taste in my mouth. I thought there's got to be more to BD than this, but wherever I went, it was you fall back on your old traits. And being from job board advertising is my first sort of like step into sales, it was hardcore cold. And as I got older, cold calling, and as I got older, I'm only 28, but I feel like I've been eons in recruitment. It's felt like I just didn't want to do it. I thought, actually, I love the candidate side. I love headhunting. I love taking accounts and turning them from a 5-figure account to a 7-figure account and doing things like that. But that initial connection, that initial engagement, I just didn't enjoy it. And I think it was a mindset thing. Well, it turned out to be a mindset thing. And I still don't enjoy it now, to be completely transparent. But the way I do it works for us, and any way that works for me. And the process that I was taught and internalized really helped me find the groove in that, and concurrently other people's in the business groove as well. Yeah.
So that's where you were, and you were going off on your own, and we chatted for a long time, and then you eventually joined. So what did you see is going to be the challenges for you over the next 12 months, year, or for the future of the business?
Well, I had to write my letter to myself 3 times, Terry. So, and that was a real key thing, actually thinking about what we're going to do. And I'll be brutally honest with you. I started the role in the pandemic. I didn't think I'd get past the first 6 months. I had no self-confidence in my own abilities and belief. So there I was writing this letter that I was going to write to myself. And I think actually I looked at the letter yesterday. I said we'd do about, I'd be happy if we do 400 grand in revenue. And we run 2 retainers. On the back of this training program. The biggest challenges would have been myself. So I had a bit of a knack to, I think most things in life, to start things really well, and then I'd get bored, or I wouldn't see the results and wouldn't stick with it, and I would veer off to a different direction. And also, I think the market stability. No one knew what the market was like then. We didn't know if it was going to continue, if it's going to be different. So there's a lot of uncertainty, and that does play heavily into the mindset. When you're sitting on your own in your room or in your kitchen, wherever, and it's just you and one other person. And you both don't like doing BD, so you are the one there, and you're the one there having to make phone calls. In fact, our first placement before we worked with Terry was £5,000 with a data center company in Kent, and now our average fee sits at over £25,500. So complete type of difference in what we do.
And I'm sure we can all remember, this was last December. If you remember at the time, we went into, was it the second, correct me somebody here, it was either the second or the third lockdown.
Yeah.
We had the initial, came out, went in, and this was the third one. Yeah, and things were pretty grim there because we thought we were coming out of it at the time. And then, yes, that's right. As we approached last Christmas, they were saying, you can't meet up your families and curtail everything. So yeah, it was a pretty grim time.
Yeah.
But you still decided to go off on your own. You couldn't have chosen a worse period.
No, in a pandemic, no one expected. It was quite an odd decision. But I just thought if I was ever going to do it, it would have been now. And I was lucky enough to have a business mentor, an investor who was very good with me. And he's still part of the business today, and he's very good in terms of taking that leap of faith. If he believed in me, that was enough initial belief. And originally we were going to have 5 people in the business, and I wasn't going to have to do BD. We were going to have a team of 5, so it was all brilliant. And then everyone backed out for different reasons. And it was just me and my first employee, Neil, and that was it. And suddenly, you haven't even started, and you've gone through hurdles and rings of fire that you just never thought you'd even do.
Luke, I just want to sort of go back a few steps. One of the things that you mentioned at the start of that was that, when you started your business, in your mind, you didn't really think you'd last the first 6 months, and you had a real sort of lack of confidence in yourself. I guess, to sort of take it back a few steps, again, I don't know what caused that, but yeah, I guess that's my question. What was responsible for that lack of confidence in yourself? What happened leading up to that point where, you believed your own ability to deliver?
That's a really good question. So from my perspective, and I think becoming more self-aware as the years gone on, for me, it was the environment I'd just come from, where I was promised the world in a role. I mean, we've all been there in recruitment at some point of career. We're promised the earth, and actually we walk in, it's completely different. And when you've got a recognized industry figure telling you you're no good at your job, even though and you're doing BD as well, and in the middle of the first lockdown, it really, for the first time in my career, I felt like crying. If I'm brutally honest, it felt like crying because I was that low in my opinion of myself that actually maybe I should just quit and do something different because I'm clearly no good at it if someone else is saying that. And you lose all ability in yourself and that faith in yourself, and it takes a while for it to come back. Like I said, I don't know what I took that morning that made me say yes to a job offer to actually come and start my own recruitment business, but not thinking. I think it was there's a overall throughout my life, my biggest thing has always been backing myself to go, actually, I can do this, and confidence and trust in my own ability. That's been probably the biggest learning curves. And even now, even now, it's something as my role changes in the business, you have to learn to back yourself and not look for recognition. I think in recruitment, we are battered down a lot in some agencies, and we are very much the cultures are quite toxic in at times. So you unless you are really good and you've got the support around you and you're really good, or you've got that self-belief and confidence, that was what was lacking on my end. I didn't have that, and my recruitment career was a little bit warped, and so I actually did a lot of commission only. So I initially backed myself heavily for 2.5 years. Ate lots of pot noodles, and I can never touch a pot noodle again. On the back of that for the first 6 months, but that self-belief after going through a couple of wrong moves on my CV and my career, it just took the wind out of my soul, wind out of my sail, I think the term is.
What happened in terms of coming from that lack of confidence and then making the leap to start your own business and doing what you've achieved in the last year? What triggered or what changed in terms of your mindset and having then the confidence coming from that low place, the confidence to then go and set up your business? What was the trigger, or if there was one trigger that changed your confidence in yourself?
I would say, again, that's a good question. For me, on on my end, I was forced to change. I had just come out of a relationship I had no money. I had no physical possessions apart from the clothes on my back. And my laptop, made sure that came with me everywhere at the time. But I had nothing, and there was a lot of job insecurity back then as well. It was only about a year or so ago. So I think it was like I need a job. So for me, it was like, okay, I'm gonna do this on my own. I'm gonna try and make this work. But in 6 months, it'll be all right. Everyone will be back to work, and with the whole jab situation was there. There wasn't a initial trigger as such. When I noticed the change in my own mindset was the first book I read, I can't remember what it was called now. I'm really sorry, Terry. It's the first book you read.
Brian Tracy, Psychology.
Brian Tracy. Yeah,
Psychology. Yeah.
That was the first time I probably had a proper morning ritual. A morning ritual, and the one-to-ones. For me, the training, the core bit of the training that changed me was the mindset change. That whole mindset change, and it's an interesting thing you talk about the mindset change. You don't really think, set and retain is like, actually it makes a lot of sense going from contingency, but the mindset change you go through is, I would say, life changing, because the person I am then to the person I am now, very, very different. And so I'd say in two-part answer, it's forced change based on circumstances and environment, but then applying what we call habits. You are the sum of your daily habits, as the thing that's forced me to have self-belief.
So I guess, just to go a bit deeper on that, walk us through that. What did your morning routine? Okay, you didn't have a morning routine before, but what did your mornings look like before, and then compared to what do they look like now, or after? How did you develop that?
I would roll out of bed at 7:45, half-eyed. I wouldn't make my bed. I would walk into the kitchen. In fact, no, I'd order breakfast. Don't ask me why I'd order breakfast. I'd go down to the little shop and have a coffee, order breakfast. Or if I was really low on money, I'd have porridge and hot water. It's great if you're trying to lose weight, by the way. Porridge and hot water, because the taste isn't amazing. Then I'd have, and then I'd just crack on, sit down in front of my laptop and start work. I wouldn't take any time out to prepare for the day. I'd already sort of know, because just your day plan as a recruiter is what you're used to. You live and die by that, but that was it. And I would work until I was tired enough to go to sleep, and I wouldn't really do much. So it was literally eat, sleep, recruitment, repeat. That was probably my my life at that point. And then you got adding all these other things, affirmations and meditation and reading half an hour in the morning or a chapter a day. All these things, or exercising. Suddenly you think, I ain't got time for that. You think, I ain't got time for that. There's no way I can make time for that. And it was when you start implementing them in, and you make the changes, and not every day is perfect. Some mornings, like this morning, I woke up and I was like, absolutely cannot be bothered to meditate this morning. But you force yourself to do it, because you know that if you don't do it, you're not operating at peak performance level.
Yes.
Yeah, it's that starting the day with intention, isn't it? Yeah,
absolutely.
That's very interesting, and it's interesting here listening to you, Luke, because most of everybody's success here comes from their thinking rather than the activity that we share with you, and the marketing activity. But what we know is, and we know from bitter experience, if we try to promote a business all around, we'll improve your mindset, which ultimately means that you're going to have you're going to win more retainers with the right mindset. You're going to get higher fees with the right mindset. It kind of falls on deaf ears, because people want the secret ninja marketing tricks. This is what they say they want, but it almost, and you're a great example, it doesn't matter what we share with you in terms of the marketing techniques. If your head isn't in the right place, it's kind of...
I'm the first to admit, I listened to what you said, watched the videos. In fact, I watched the videos. I'm sure you can see my progress. I think I watched about 4 videos in one day, and then I missed it for 6 weeks. I had another 4 videos. And, I took the process and we've made it our own. I internalized it and made it our own. And I won't lie that I don't do a lot of the things that are in there, but I do a lot of things that are in there as well, if that makes sense. So it's pick and choose. But yeah, first hands up to say that. And I think I even missed about 3 or 4 calls, one-to-ones. I wouldn't recommend doing that, by the way, just so everyone on this call. Terry does add a lot of value. But the fact now I can call him and he will pick up my phone is a good thing. It's a good thing. But the whole mindset thing was the real, for me personally, was the game changer that I needed. In less than a year, I've now got 8 people that work for me. We've got an office in Manchester. We're looking to go to at least 11 people by the end of this quarter. And just a big highlight, we did between 2.5 of us last year, we did 800,000. This year, we've already committed in terms of an RPO retainer that we have. We've got 1.3 million committed to the business. We're pushing for 2 because we know we can. And everything we do now is exclusive or retained. We don't touch anything that's contingent.
Awesome.
But that all started from that first call with Terry and doing those things. I wouldn't be here today without that sort of that baseline.
Just before you take a question, just to the rest of the room, feel free. Got any questions at any time? Please feel free to ask any questions, especially the new guys. But it's not just for the new guys. Anybody, you've got any questions? Please feel free. So go back to when we first started talking. We talked about retainers. We talked about higher. And we said this. We have this conversation with everybody: retainers, exclusives, high fees, and so on. What was your thoughts when you were initially hearing that conversation? You're hearing the likes of Don and Mike and Michelle, and then doing that. What was your initial thoughts?
So, that's a good question. So I'm sorry, my brain's gone completely dead. That's just kind of, can you repeat the question? Oh, my brain just had a brain fart.
Yeah, sorry, that's okay. I've got a question from Don in a moment, but the question I have is, when we first talked about getting business on a retained basis, so the client's going to pay. Client's going to pay you up front, but you've always worked contingent, or you're going to work exclusive with cancellation. I'd just be interested in your thoughts.
So I'd sold retainer to an existing client before, but just by asking. That was how I was told to sell retainers originally. Just ask, and it was a really hard role, and we did it. And that was like no formal training. Then on the flip side of that, I only work at 20% fees. I used to say I don't get out of bed for less than 15k. As a consultant, that was. But then suddenly everything we do is retained. And Terry and Drew talk about turn things away that are contingent. Don't put your time towards it. Protect your time. It was like, yeah, but I've got a business to run. My runway is 3 months. If I don't make deals, there is no way I'm like by the end of this training course, I'll be busted and I'll be out on the curb with a please employ me sign on the roundabout on the M62. That was the conversation. Like, Terry, what are you talking about? He was like, but like, trust the process, do as you're told, listen to me, and it will work. And lo and behold, it did. But initially you fight it, and you maybe not consciously, because you think, yeah, okay, I'll try it. Subconsciously, you are doing everything in your power because you come on the call and you'll be like, yeah, maybe I'll just take this job on because it's contingent. Maybe I'll take that one job on as contingent. And it'll be like, yeah, but I've only taken one on contingent. We've got these great pipeline, to have all these calls, and you're in the middle of a call and a client says, yeah, do you know, we only work contingent. And you're like, I've done discovery, I've done everything followed. Okay, fine, we'll do it contingent. But the next time, because we work maybe exclusive, you got to get out of that mindset. That's what you don't do. In fact, we turn away a lot of business now because they say, oh, actually, we only work contingent. Well, okay, fine. You wouldn't be talking to us if your other suppliers were doing a good job. Simply put. And having excuse my French, the kahunas to say that is powerful, because you suddenly see clients on the call go, well, okay, let's talk then, or okay, I don't expect that. It's a little bit different.
Yeah, interesting. Thanks, Luke. I want to come to Don, Inez. Your questions, Don, first of all.
Sure, Luke. Appreciate you doing this today, first and foremost, and congratulations on all your successes. I remember when you first got started, and a lot of this is definitely resonating today, as it did with me. I'm curious. I think I heard you say that you have 8 people on your team. I was curious about your infrastructure, what it is those folks do, as well as do you outsource any aspects of your business beyond those hires?
So yes, so we outsource all of our marketing, and that's when we say marketing, we're going for a rebrand at the moment. So logo, content creation, email marketing, everything around that is outsourced to a friend of mine in Manchester. That's the only thing we outsource. Everything else is internalized. So I've got Kelsey, who is my EA. She does a lot of my admin, my PA, and just general admin duties. Then the rest of the team are consultants, split in 180 positions. So I have 2 BD people. In fact, I think we were talking to Drew about Johnny that I hired, pure BD. He is pretty much runs the BD department, the sales department. I get involved at deal closing level and sculpting out and doing terms and things like that. So we've got 2 BD people and the rest of the delivery. They purely focus on finding candidates and building a database and engagement candidates.
It's interesting because, yeah, just to show you, most people go for the 360 model in terms of the consultant, and there is an argument that you're asking for one person to be good at everything, and maybe that isn't always the case. And so it's interesting that you've gone for the 180 model.
So I can explain why I went for the 180 model. There's a book called Good to Great by Jim Collins. Level 5 leadership, and it's something that I'm personally working towards right now, is trying to get to attain to level 5. But there's something called the hedgehog process, the hedgehog concept, which is hedgehogs are great at one thing. They do one thing, and I believe people are the same. You very rarely do you find someone that can act, sing, play football, play American football, and do everything. The Rock is different. He's someone like everything he touches turns to gold. But most people are good at one thing and one thing only, or they're passionate about one thing and one thing only. And in recruitment, out of all the people I've managed, engaged with, no one can do the 360 process on their in that environment 100% the best, or they prefer things. It's a brilliant it's a brilliant concept, and it's one that's worked. I mean, I sometimes call it the 270 model. So our sales guys, so Jules and Johnny, they both just love new business. They're both very good at getting into doors. One thing we do well, so me and Johnny personally, he will do the BD, he'll get in, and I'll expand the account. So we call it land and expand. It's just a type of BD model that works for us, but we play to each other's strengths. That's the key thing. So when we sit and have a management meeting, it's like, okay, where are our weaknesses in the business? Do we need to go and hire? Do we need to upskill? The hedgehog concept has helped our business go from a contingency recruitment business to actually now we're carving out the first. It might not be the first, I just like to say it's the first, but we are a truly dedicated seed to exit RPO vendor that offer 3 RPOs, 3 solutions, retained, wholesale retainers or our wholesale projects, and our booster, which is a talent on-site talent acquisition solution.
Awesome. Does that answer your question, Don? Cool, excellent. Can we go to
before we go on to Innes and Paddock, I just wanted to ask just a question about the timing of the hires. So you're at obviously eight people now, a year in. When did you make the first hire? What timescale did you make these hires in, just in terms of timing?
So my first hire was a chap called Neil. He was actually completely remote, did only part-time, 25 hours a week. Then I hired Johnny on May the 17th last year. He was a day before my birthday. I remember that because I couldn't take my birthday off. I was pretty annoyed, but hey ho. Then we made a couple of bad hires. Last year that could have put our business back. We then hired, so in December last year, we decided that we were going to ramp up completely. Kelsey joined this year, in January this year. We had a lot of hires join in January this year. Jules joined January, and Adam joined January as well. And Curtis, our trainee, he joined in December. Yeah, December.
So again, just clarification, what was your team size when you hit the 7-figure mark?
Oh, we were 3, 2.5 actually, to be precise.
Awesome. So then the 8 you've got now, that's more for this year going forward.
Yeah, actually, to be honest with you, it's to deliver on the 7-figure RPO. Because I like to say yes and figure out how to work things out after, because that's just what I do. But so we looked at what we hit last year in terms of number of placements between 2.5 of us, and we looked at what we need to do in order to meet the requirements of the RPO. And one thing we have done with the RPO is we have no the contracts from. I don't think he's on the call, is he? He does the medical in the US. He's got the nice car. I notice every now and then on Facebook. So his contracts actually really helped us with that. So we do not give. We have no penalties. The onus is all on them. Yep. They pay for it. That's it. And if they mess it up, it's their fault. So that's been a lifesaver for us. I was
going to say, I do want to dig into like your offer to the market a bit later on, because it's the theme this month is offers that clients can't refuse. But let's before we do that, can we go to the question from Inez and Palak?
Hi everyone. Sorry if it's a bit noisy here. Hi.
Hi Inez.
Hi Luke. I was wondering how you were doing, so it's great to see you again. We also do 180, by the way. It works quite well, and it came from a little bit more of a selfish place where I didn't want to do recruitment anymore, but it works well. But my question is, how did you get from the 5K to the 25? Because we've gone up, but not as steep as you. So I'm curious to hear that.
Yeah, so we created an ICP, so an ideal client profile. Right, so I think when Drew and Terry start, they talk about, what does your client portfolio look like? I have 100 list of clients. Well, I know my market quite well, so I know the type of clients I want to deal with. That would mean that we actually have a higher, trying to find the right word, become specialized in a certain area. So our client, our ICP, for example, is, I know Nick does software sales as well. I know he's on the call, so he'll probably resonate with this. So it's enterprise level software. It's organizations between 200 to maximum 500 employees. Then you have average order value within the organization has to be 6 figures. They have to have a leadership team that is of noteworthy, so they've achieved things, or they are what we would class as people want to work for them, and they're at least seed funding, or they are pre-IPO. So we don't work with anybody who's exited. They have to be on a growth trajectory, and based on the back of that, we've then said we offer three. Initially, we had 3 solutions. Contingency was 35%. Retainer was a little bit less. So exclusive with the cancellation was a little bit less, and then we had retainer, which is a little bit less and a bit of a sweetener. So initially, and then now we've changed it. We've been a bit more ballsy with our approach in how we do things. I hope that answers the question. So we identify the clients we want to work with, and I'm lucky to also have a really good BD person who can help us, identify the right organizations for us.
Okay, thanks. Very interesting. So you went more for the type of organization rather than, because we've been trying to up the level of the people that we reach out to within organizations, but you focus more on the organizations itself.
Yeah, so I have always loved business conversations. So the fact that I was talking to, obviously, as you know through the process, the discovery call you have is about finding out about that person. How does the not hiring affect that actual person? It could be their pocket, it could be their kids going to Disneyland, for example. We do the same thing, but because our clients are VC backed, so they have a lot of money pumped into them. There's a lot of pressure that comes with that. They have to grow. So what we talk about and what we've done with our references, we talk about how the impact has had with that and what we're doing with that. So almost from a business-led conversation rather than a recruitment-led conversation. And because you're engaging with those C-suites and the VPs, they are actually a lot more open to talking to us than we are. Then just saying, okay, no, we've got this candidate. A lot of recruitment agencies will have an inch wide, mile deep methodology. So C.NET developers in Yorkshire, for example. We've taken, rather than going for that, we go for a client profile, which has helped us personally to reach those higher fees. I think a lot of it also depends on your market and where you're at. Trades at blue collar isn't going to have higher fees all the time. I know a lot of the guys here, like Mike does, obviously C-suite within FMCG. He says, I'm probably wrong, but but so we also don't work anything below £80,000 in salary. In fact, our average salary that we placed was 100k minimum last year sterling.
Thanks. Yeah, helps.
It's setting boundaries and sticking to them.
Yeah.
That's a really good point there. Yeah.
Short answer to you. I'll just give you a long answer. I'll just go with the short answer right there. So there you go. Set boundaries and stick to them.
That's spot on.
What's really interesting, and listening to Luke speak, he's got a very clear, crystal clear view of who he wants to work with. And I think once you have that, in terms of your business development, it becomes a lot easier rather than trying to be all things to all people. And you really niche down, and you listen to you speak, you've got absolute clarity about who are your clients, which just makes life so much easier.
Yeah. Without a doubt. And we still make mistakes. We say every now and then we entertain a client that doesn't fit that, and then we're very swiftly reminded why we don't do that.
Awesome. So I just wanted, before we get into the offers, I want to ask you about your BD. So Alex asked a question. You mentioned you hate BD. What type of BD do you do that works for you now? I know you've got someone else in the team doing it, but yeah, just in general, like what's you guys at the moment?
When it was heavily reliant on me, I used the odd question. I love the odd question. Do you mind if I ask you a weird question?
On LinkedIn chat, is this?
Yeah, LinkedIn chat, LinkedIn helper. It got me into some very good organizations in our space. And in fact, by that question, I've been introduced to 4 other organizations from somebody who referred me. So for me, I identified my strengths. I'm not a cold caller. I will not pick up the phone. I say I will not. I don't pick up the phone 28 times a day, 50 times a day. I do a lot of social selling. So I put my content out there. My brand is very direct. It's very in your face almost. And on the back of it, I'm like that when I'm messaging people. And one of the questions, that we ask is, do you mind if I ask you a weird question? And then the follow-on question is, in fact, I still remember it to today, and I haven't even used it for the last few months. If I could introduce you to the top 3% of salespeople within your space, would you be interested in seeing them? Guaranteed, 9 times out of 10, they say yes or no.
Yeah. Well,
and then it's about having those commercial conversations. I try not to talk about recruitment. I'm more interested. Okay, so what is your target this year? How are you going to get there? What challenges are you going to face? The same questions I was asked when I did this program, right? Just flipped it around, and that really helped us from a BD perspective. That played to my strengths. So it's about self-awareness and what you're good at and what you're not good at.
100%. And what about now? So obviously that was you when you were doing it. I get so obviously heavily linked in chat, and I remember coming up with that script with you as well. So it's good to see you. And what with the guys that you've got in now who are doing the BD, are they doing it? Because I assume they're more comfortable on the phone compared to you.
Yeah. So Johnny is Johnny's a quite a unique salesperson actually. So he's as direct as me. He will pick up the phone and he will just talk to people. He loves a cold call, but he's very strategic in his cold calls. Again, he doesn't do 100 calls a day. I think nobody in the business does 100 calls a day, even 50 calls a day. They're all targeted and they all had a lot of research into them before the call goes through. The main focus on our BD. So obviously I've got a new business development with Johnny and Julia. Or Jules, they do a lot of the initial outreaches. I'm brought in to expand the accounts. So again, playing back to, I've built my team around me in terms of my own strengths. So I will take, so our RPO came from a contingency account that we won, turned into a retainer, turned into an RPO, because my strength is building those relationships, identifying the right people, expanding across the account, and then from that. So my BD is a bit more warmer these days, I guess, from that perspective. I don't like doing BD, but every now and then I'll pick up the phone and do it. It's just about, it's looking and see, if I want to work with a particular organization, I will go out of my way and work with that organization and find someone into something. We've just built a professional services team, so we're not just doing go-to-market talent now. So we've now got other opportunities to get into organizations, almost a double increase in our chances of working with them.
Awesome. So talk to me about, your offer to the market. I think you mentioned you're the only, is it seed to exit?
So yeah, so we we started off as a standard recruitment business, and I'm not saying I'm reinventing the wheel, because recruitment is recruitment, no matter how you package it and do anything with it. You know, we're still finding people and placing them into organisations. But what we found was that productization in recruitment is becoming, especially in the UK, is becoming very big. But people are not committing to they might be doing retainers, but they'll still do contingency. They might be doing RPOs, but the RPO type of organizations are your hybrid Gibbs, Hayes, Manpower, huge organizations that not a lot of startups want to work with them. You know, they want flexible solutions. They want to be saving money on cost per hire versus paying out money. So what I talk about when I'm having those conversations is, okay, you're paying $35,000 per hire to us or to somebody else. I'm sitting there thinking I'll still make a profit if we charge them 30 or even half that, you know, as long as we focus it right. So we look at a cost saving exercise for them, but we also realize that relationship has a sell by date. When our clients get to 500 people, probably a little bit more than that, they start to build internal talent teams, which is where, as a recruiter, hence internal talent teams are like the Jedi to the Sith type thing. Depends on where you sit. You know, I like to think I'm the Sith because I'm a bit cooler with the hoods. I was just a Star Wars fan as a kid. But you know, from a perspective of like where we fit into the market, we realized that there were a few people offering a few things and existing relationships, but there was no one going out and saying like, this is what we specialize in. This is what we do. If you want to hire 6 people, okay, we'll figure out a solution to do that, which is where the wholesale projects sort of came through. We've got one client at the moment who, you know, are what we class as a B-list software vendor. So they're all right. They're not amazing. There's no one running to them. But actually, with a bit of employer marketing thrown in there, I've got a white label company to do for us. I've got a great relationship with the C-suite. We can help them and consult with them. That's what won us the RPO with them. It was obviously through great delivery, but it was actually through the value add that we can do. And how we can do that. So that's our go-to market in terms of our strategy is about saving money, being flexible, but actually being quick at what we do. So we have a 6-week window that we stick to, and we live and die by. And you know, unless we can't for some reason, and then there's always a call somewhere. Hi, yeah, we're struggling to help find it, but then we give data. We've approached 250 people. This has been the situation. Okay, brilliant. So what can we do? Well, we need to pay more money. Okay, we'll do that. Or you need to do this, you need to do that. It's about having those conversations, not being afraid to have them. That's helped us probably get to where we are. I mean, the booster is for us a big thing because it enables organizations to almost have a dedicated in-house team, but with the recruiter edge, the agency recruiter edge, which I think is really key.
Luke, so just to recap on this, you've used the language there. Wholesale. What do you mean by wholesale, and what do you mean by booster?
Okay, so wholesale is. I'm still working on a name for it. So if anyone in marketing wants to give me a call to come up with brand names, let me know. So wholesale is a project based. So for example, let's say there's a VP of sales who can hire 6 enterprise account executives in a region. We would basically say, okay, going contingent is going to cost you X, Y, and Z. If you need these people, and we've created the why and showed them that we can deliver, we will do it for a fixed fee of £30,000 a month, and we will work those roles until they're filled, as long as we have confidence we can fill them. So it's almost like it's not an RPO, it's like a mini RPO. Probably the best way to do it. It's like a project-based work. That's what we call wholesale, because they're buying. It's not retained, where we charge a lot more. It's buying more. It's sort of like the more roles you hire, the less cost per hire. Yeah, there you go. I like that. Yeah. Coined that one. And then the booster is a full end-to-end solution where we can work with. Doesn't matter where they are in the growth. Their growth. We can go completely on site and be there, and we can do the internal recruitment. We become their internal recruitment team, in short. So we work with everybody in an internal basis, and they will charge anywhere from £80,000 a month to £250,000 a month on that, depending on what the hire the needs are. So
it's a wholesale then for the smaller needs and the And for bigger projects, you go booster. Have I got that right?
Yeah, basically. And we offer two payment cards, so so we have a fixed fee model, which is you pay X amount and this gets you X. Or we say, you know, sometimes organizations need a bit of flexibility. So what we'll say is, right, you know, we'll charge you, let's say £15,000 a month over a quarter. That'll get you 4 hires. Anything over that, we'll have this rate card that will charge for that. So they can have clarity on what their recruitment spending is.
Yeah.
And again, from your point of view, what impact has that had on cash flow and just the stability in the business in general?
Well, it's a breath of fresh air and incredibly stressful. I mean, my hair is thinning and I'm 28. My forehead's getting bigger. I look like Terry soon with no hair. So I don't know if I'm looking forward to that, but hey. No, it's when you've closed 800,000 between 2.5 of you, you're buzzing. Then you're talking about, then you've already got commitment from a client. Okay, it is one client. You all know, don't put all your eggs in one basket. But when you've got commitment from a client that's going to, if you did nothing else all year but work on that, you've increased your revenue by 3, 4, 5. Sorry, I'm still not great at maths. 500k in a year. The cash flow purposes is I can forecast. I can actually say I know in the next 3 months we will do as a minimum 375 grand as an example because of this. The challenge we're having now, actually I'll come to challenges, I'm sure I'm going to ask that later on. So it's great for cash flow, and you know I'm sending out invoices every week, which always puts a smile on my face.
Awesome, and it must make it easier in terms of bringing people in.
Absolutely.
But on that, you already know that you can cover their salaries covered, like it's there.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes it a lot.
And when recruiters come in, the biggest thing, especially when consultants, and they want to prove themselves. They want to get bidding quickly, but they also feel like there's pressure. If you haven't made a deal in 3 months, doesn't mean to say you're not doing the job right. Sometimes it could just be the market. Sometimes it could just be little tweaks on things. But they want to. We give them enough runway where they actually can do what they're good at and build that pipeline, which is really key for us. We use the word pipeline. We build pipelines quite a lot as part of our sales process. So
awesome, thanks for sharing that. But like I know you touched on it there. Let's talk challenges now. I guess to stick to where I want to hear about challenges to get to this point, but also challenges that you're facing right now at this point. What are you said that the challenge for us is, and you stopped. What are the challenges you're seeing right now with the model that you've got?
So our deal time has expanded because we're doing a lot of retained work now. We've got a really good selling machine, like brilliant. We're sort of taking deposits, but we're still building the cars. That's probably the best way to do it. The Tesla situation for years where they had so many orders and they're backfilling. So for us, what we found going into back into last year, sort of the last 6 weeks going into this year, is actually when we look at our deal value, although we're sending out invoices, it's fantastic. When we work in contingent, we were so boom, 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 boom on all processes. Now it's a little bit longer sometimes before we get that. We sort of lost our way a little bit, and that comes from top down, right? So that's where the buck stops with me. So we've actually just put into play 6-week process. Here is our delivery framework. This is what worked. This is what we do. And this is what we must deliver to. But to be transparent, so one of our core values is trust is built in transparency. We actually share that with clients. So they know they know our process, they know everything that we do, and that holds us accountable and them accountable. I hope that, so the challenge for us right now is getting back to what I might class as back in my day of contract recruitment delivery speed. So super speed with the finesse of a headhunter and the energy of of someone that's drinking Monster right now across the whole team. Obviously, we've onboarded a number of new people. So my job right now in the business, as well as resourcing and still doing those things, is actually enabling them and getting them up to speed. Because if anyone's trying to hire right now, recruitment is trying to find people with experience is a nightmare. So hiring is the second issue that we've had. So we're building out a whole enablement program. We've got a trainer. We're looking at trainees. We're hiring an academy manager to come in and build the future of the business. So our problems are now we've got a lot of jobs to fill and filling them. but it's not. It's actually just more or less people in the business. That's what we need,
Yeah.
and we're looking at trying to get creative ways of doing that.
Yeah, and I think where your model's different, because I think that challenge that you've got jobs to fill and problems filling them. I think that's probably quite common in the market at the moment, especially with contingency recruiters. But I think the difference from you is that the money's there already. It's not like, yes, the pressure's on. Yes, you have to fill them, but it's it's a lot more stable the way you're doing it, as far as I can see.
And also, one thing that really makes us different to one thing that really does make us different is we only work 4 days a week. We don't work Fridays at all.
Awesome.
So but what that has created is an efficient. When people come in, they're working. I mean, I'm sitting in the office right now. Everybody is on their laptops or they're on the phones. They are absolutely 100% ingrained. But we don't take us. We have a laugh and a joke. But I know, come 6 o'clock tonight, after everyone goes out for a beer, they'll be loving tomorrow. They'll be raring to go on Monday. Awesome. It's about balance as well.
Love that. Love that. So we can go to Don's question from Don there.
Yeah, I was just curious. I think you've touched on this, Luke, in your last statements, but I'm curious if this question may be different. There may be a different answer to this, but just curious as to where you're spending the majority of your time. It sounds like hiring and training these days, but I'd rather ask the question.
Do you know what? It's a good question, and this is a personal challenge I've had. So, going from being that one to 2 man band recruitment business, and now my role is I've got 8 people that are looking to me for answers. So my time management has been the one thing I'm actually having to. Funny enough, I had coaching this morning on that to deal with that and to do that. Because if I said to you yesterday, my day was spent. I did no resourcing, no closing deals. I spent on the business stuff for me. So, but we've now worked out a model. So what has worked in the past for me when it comes to this sort of things, I spend 50% of my time in the business doing revenue generating tasks. 30% of my time on the team, and then I call 20% of my time on the business, if that makes sense. So that could be reviewing contracts for new CRM, marketing, website, hiring. But I've outsourced. So I've got a rec to rec on retainer for us. So and someone that's proven themselves. So that takes away a lot of headache. For a while, I took my eye off of revenue generating tasks. And that was soon seen, and I sort of soon became quite self-aware of that. So the majority of my time at the moment is spent on making sure my diary is packed out with things to do, but fruitful things to do, not being a busy fool.
This is fantastic. Look, you've shared some of your wins and some of the successes, but I'm curious, what have been some of the biggest mistakes or lessons you've learned on this journey over the last 14 months or so? We all make them. I'm really interested to know what yours have been.
There's a few personal, there's a few career, and I'll share both. So I have no personal life. So my work-life balance has been decimated. There are things that suffer in that. If you want success, I think when people say it comes at a cost, I never realized what that cost would be. So for me, failed relationships, not having that work-life balance, even though we only work 4 days a week, right? You think like you've got a 3-day weekend. By the time the 3-day weekend comes, I'm exhausted. I am literally running on fumes, and even then I'm still working because we've got that many jobs on. So the biggest mistake has been, probably from a personal perspective, has been not setting boundaries. I say set boundaries and stick to them, but trust me, setting boundaries and sticking to them on a personal level. Actually, when do you finish work? 7 o'clock, not leaving the office at 9:30, 10 o'clock, just because you've got that extra thing you need to do. From a business perspective, I would say a couple of wrong hires, being too forgiving as well. We've had a couple of really poor hires that, looking back, I should never have made in the business, but also not trusting yourself. So one of the things that I am having to deal with and still going through it as we grow, I like people to like me. It's quite human. We have a human need. We want to be liked, but there's a difference between being liked and being respected sometimes. So when you can be a little bit, I can sometimes be a little bit too chummy with the team. And there's nothing wrong with that, but there's a line where, when does that become too friendly? Because at the end of the day, if I stop paying them a salary, would they still be working in the business? And that's quite a cold, hard way to look at it, but it's something that I've had to learn, and that goes back to that self-belief. And so it's something I still battle with every day. Is that self-belief and that self-confidence that actually what I'm doing is right, and not looking to other people for not affirmation. That I am a good boss. I'm a good leader. I'm doing things right. Am I doing things right? I'm very lucky that my two managers, that Johnny and Adam, actually are brutally honest with me and very direct. So if something's not going well, they will talk to me and they will tell me. But so sometimes from a business perspective, it can be, the lines can be muddled, and that's something that I'm having to learn this year.
So with that, what have you? First question is, what have you learned about yourself?
Good question. What have I learned about myself? Where do I start? I need to have more ability. So affirmations. I said I'd mention this, Terry. I'm going to mention it. So every morning, part of my morning routine, please don't imagine this because I don't want to scar you for life. But one of the first things that I was told by Terry is sit naked in my bedroom, looking at the mirror. Okay. Don't ask me why Terry had this fascination with me sitting naked in my bedroom, but hey, and having affirmations, saying to yourself, do you know what? I used to have massive body issues. I'm a big guy. So I used to have massive body issues, and so I built affirmations. I worked on affirmations by saying, do you know what? I am good enough. I am good enough. I think Mike had one that I loved that I haven't actually used for a while, which was, there is enough money in the world and I will get enough. I will attract money to me. One thing I say now is, it's not I am a good leader, is I am operating the best person I can be on a daily basis. I'm always striving to be the best I can be. And affirmations have helped me probably more than anything else, more than a meditation, to be honest with you. The other thing I've learned about myself is my own limitations. That I cannot do 3 hours sleep a night every night. I need to set boundaries. So that's something that comes into play. And probably I'd say empowering and trust, and giving away control. I realized what a control freak I am. I didn't want to give away control. I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to do that. Have to empower the people around me. You have to trust people around me. I had a big thing with trust. I didn't trust anybody. And that was the trusting Johnny, trusting Adam, trusting the team that they can deliver is a big thing for me. As I say, usually we go to war every day. These are my comrades. These are the people that are in my unit. We go to war. It's a talent war, whatever you want to call it. And you have to trust people. And when you break that trust, or when that trust is broken, it can be very hard. But then I also don't think, I sometimes take things a bit too personally. That's just one of the, I'm a sensitive soul. But that's also one of my strengths, as well as a weakness. I've identified a lot of strengths. I'm way more resilient than I thought I was. I'm actually way better a recruiter than I thought I was. And I'm a good leader. I do things a little bit differently, and it attracts the right people that I want in the business, and that we need in the business. Self-awareness is probably the biggest thing that I've learned. When am I going off track? Identifying my own trigger points, and being able to deal with them in a way that is not toxic to myself.
Yeah. Excellent. Luke, at the top of the call, we talked about the beginning of the journey. You shared, somebody reached out to you and said, "Oh, you don't want to work with those guys," and so on. And I'm curious. We've been together for just over a year now. What would you say to somebody that was considering embarking on this type of journey?
Is it really? Of course, the longest relationship I've ever had, Terry. So we should go out for dinner soon for anniversary.
One of the best as well.
I was going to say something then, but I won't.
Well, I'm glad you didn't.
It's just one of those training calls. What would I say to somebody I noticed there was a few people in the group, and I noticed that's why I commented what I commented. I would say, look, there are people in this group, and I know I'm not 100% involved anymore, but I'm still part. I'm still talk to people, And I've made some. There's people I look to. I look to Mike. I look to Terry. I look to Drew. I still reach out and I'll have those conversations. This group, I look at it from a few areas. If you're on your own and you're setting up your business on your own, or you're a one-man band, or you're a small business, this is the perfect environment to level up. Whether you stay as a one-man band or one-band woman, or you stay as a small business, you have a community here. There's a real strong feel community, and everybody treats you as an equal. You're never wrong. You can always, how can we be better? And people are willing to share their ideas. And for me personally, when I was sitting at home on my own, it was the community. Don's in the US. I think, I mean, Palik's in the US as well. And being able to talk to them and listen to them, and Inez is in South Africa, I think, as well, if I remember rightly. It's a global community that has made me, little me based in Manchester in England, a better person all around. Like I said, it's life changing. The mindset training for me, the process, the delivery, everything is is life changing as a recruiter and in your personal life. So I'd say do it. It's worth the. Yes, it is. I won't lie. It's a big investment up front, right? I think I must have talked to Terry, try and get Terry to cut that price down a few times. And the answer was always the same. But I'm glad he did, because I tell you what, it was the best investment I made in myself. And that's probably the key thing. If you invest in yourself, and there's I posted it in our group chat recently internally, that personal development is inexplicably linked to earning potential. We've all heard of millionaires. If you got given $1 million tomorrow, probably actually a lot of people in this group will be able to keep $1 million and make more of it because of the way the mindset is. But most people can't deal with being a millionaire or a billionaire, for example, because they don't have the mindset. Your earnings are linked to your personal development. So if you want to have a very nice lifestyle, if you want the house that Mike wants, when I look at the pictures and things like that, if you want the really flashy car, if you want the freedom, you have to develop the mindset to get there. This program helps you do that.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Luke. Really appreciate that. I want to go around the room and just get people's thoughts, feedbacks, and observations. And I noticed Dan's here. Hi, buddy. Good to see you again. So I'm going to come to you first of all, then to you, Tom, Laura. Let me do those three first of all. Dan.
Hi guys. Congrats, Luke. What a great year. I guess one observation, an observation, I guess. I'm interested. What's your thought process around putting your fees up? Because you talked about how busy you are, how you don't have the balance around. You're still working on Fridays, even though technically it's a day off, etc. It seems the demand is there that it's the perfect time to put your fees up.
Yeah, that's a good question.
And let's use the RPO example. Like, let's say you've got 6 clients that are $20K a month. If you put your fees up to $30K a month, but only had 4 clients, you're still making the same, but you're now working less for the same revenue.
Yeah, that is something that we put our fees up. Actually, we did put our fees up, but there's no reason why we can't put them up anymore. I thought I was going to be doing all the teaching today. I've just learned something new. Love that. Yeah, absolutely. I've just got the other week. One of my guys, Johnny, the sales guy, was like, "We're not doing free replacements anymore. We're getting rid of it completely. Why are we putting it in?" So yeah, I mean, absolutely. Let's put the fees up. Something actually I will look at doing, and where we can do that. The way that our RPO model works, so it's about cost saving per hire. So I have to look at, so for example, with this particular client, we were charging them $40,000 per US dollars per hire on a retained model. So the way that we got the RPO was saying, right, we'll charge less now. I think we're charging about $30,000, so even about $10,000 or $12,000 per hire. So it's a cost per hire ratio versus a percentage of the actual fee now. But it's about doing that in a way that we make money, as we have that gross profit as a business. That's after paying commissions and everything like that come with that. But yeah, absolutely, on the retained projects, why not put our fees up? Why not go in at higher levels?
Excellent. Thanks for that. Thanks, Dan. Just very quickly, Dan, where are you now? Are you back in Australia, still in Europe?
No, I'm in Spain still.
You're still in Spain. Excellent.
Yeah.
Good to see you, mate. Really good
You
to see
too.
you. Laura, come to you next. Thoughts, feedback, observations?
Yeah, it's really good to hear from you, and a warts and all overview of the last 12 months, which has been good. And I suppose for me, coaching is one of those things that I was never sure about. And I've done coaching in the past. I actually do coach on inclusion. And it's one of those things I never really thought about as a cost and a personal development as well as business development thing. And this all kind of, when I spoke to Terry, it was just perfect timing. I don't know, I think he might be slightly psychic, but it just was the perfect time for me to, I need to do this or this. And I thought, I'm going to go with it because he sold it well, obviously. But I think what sold it for me is I've done bits and pieces around specifically recruitment or specifically writing or specifically this, specifically that, but it's the fact that it's everything all encompassing. And I've mentioned this to you as well, Terry, is the fact that I knew personally it was, I suppose, mindset to an extent, but wrapping it up with everything else, almost bringing it together. And it sounds like you've done a lot of that work over the last 12 months, and you've mentioned what you want to focus on, but how are you focusing on sorting your own self out, I guess, if that makes sense? What is your plans for the next 6 months?
So I actually have a life coach now as well. So I have training every Friday, ironically. That's my me day. That's the day that I do something for myself. But if you, the program has I love reading audio books. So I drive an hour I drive through some of the most amazing countryside, but it's always dark at the moment, so I don't get to see anything. So I whack on an audio book. So for me, I set, sort of yearly goals, but I actually set 6 monthly goals now. So for me, I look at my life and where I want to improve, and then I build a plan based around that benefits me. So for example, I'll make sure at least 1 hour a day, I'll have a personal development. So it could be something as simple as this, for example, or talking to a trainer, or having questions, or reading a book around self-help, a self-help book around a particular project that we're looking to do. But for me, right now, I know that I need to build boundaries. I need to work on my balance in my life to have more of a life and enjoy the hard work. So how I get there is the decisions I make in the business that allow me to get there, but actually starting and having a starting point. So when it comes to Fridays, as of next week, I've blocked out my diary so no one can put calls in. So if I want to work, I work. I'll probably end up sleeping, to be brutally honest with you, because I like my bed too much. But it's about, for me, I know where to get to the next point I need to get to. I now need to put boundaries in place. So for me, I believe, when building habits, I take one thing, do that for 21 days, then do something else. But rather than just going cold turkey on everything, or going all guns all blazing, I tried that. It didn't work for me personally. So I have to sort of like almost take one thing at a time and build it into building block, and to do that. So I'll work on something over this sort of 3 to 6 months on 1 or 2 things.
Oh,
excellent.
I hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
That's a good
Thanks
question.
for that, Luke. Thank you.
No
Yeah. Just very quickly, Laura, you're I saw somewhere, I think it's on LinkedIn, you're going to take up football, is it refereeing or football linesman? Have I got that right?
Yeah, I start referee school on Sunday.
Good for you. Excellent.
Absolutely amazing.
I know, that's what happens the year you turn 40. You start doing things that have been on your list of stuff to do before I die.
Yeah, I can't wait to get to 40. So I'll let you
The second time round. Is that a second time round, Terry?
Good for you, Laura. Excellent. Tom, we're going to come to Tom next. Tom Yeager, and then Nick. And Nick, Andy next. So Tom, Nick, Andy. Hi, Tom.
Yeah, cheers, Luke. This has been great. I guess being at the start of the process myself, I guess I was at a similar stage to you as well, where I'm at the minute turning down contingent roles as well, which is, trying to stick to my guns, but at the same time as well, I'm thinking, okay, I do need to get some retain work on. So I guess it's good to see that if you do follow the process, like the results you've had this year last year have been amazing with the sounds of it. So I think one of the good things as well is how you've recognized your strengths as well and weaknesses, and built a team around and brought people in whose strengths are your weaknesses. So yeah, it just sounds like the business, you've got a really good model now as well. And yeah, it's quite interesting, the wholesale piece as well, and just in terms of once you get into a client, how you've really grown them and getting, I guess, that RPO service as well. So is that the goal moving forwards then? Do you initially go in, offer a retained, and then once you've delivered, try and branch that out to an RPO?
Yeah, we'd love to go in and sell RPO. If I get 3 or 4 7-figure RPOs, I'll be laughing, all the way down to the bank. But from the vision of the business is basically to go in and have built a clear strategy to go from 1 or 2 retained roles to the wholesale project. It's almost like a life cycle. Okay, try us from the retained. Let's go wholesale. Let's do a mini project. I tell you what, just give us all of your recruitment, all of your go-to-market, all of your professional services. We'll deal with it, and then they want the big package. So for us, it's almost like the process, but sometimes we're hoping we'll get people phoning us and saying, yeah, do you know what, we want to do a booster, we want to do a wholesale. It took me, one of my first conversions, just to give you an idea. So one of my first conversions and retained was a 4-year client that only ever told me they were contingency. I put the process in play, continually battered me, nope, only do contingency. It came to me and said, we've got these hires. I said, well, why don't you work on a retained basis with us? And 4.5 years later, through Terry's process, he said yes. So, and we still work with them today. So, and that's a wholesale project. So they'll just retain us every quarter, 6 hires, £35,000, boom, done.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks for that. Thanks for that question, Tom. Brilliant. Nick, I don't know if you're still here. I can't see you, mate. Yeah, you are. Yeah, brilliant.
Sorry,
yeah, apologies. Yeah.
On the phone. Yeah, no, amazing. Well done, mate. Such fantastic to hear you. You're a very different person, right? And I think what I love to hear is you've gone in with a real structure to attack it in a different way, because I haven't heard it like that before, and I think that's really good. Look after yourself, though. Don't burn out, for God's sake. I think that's the most important thing. But yeah, no, really, really, really great to hear. I'm so pleased, and in such quick time as well. So good for you, buddy.
If I said, Nick, I saw you were the turning point for me personally. Seeing you go through, I remember that call where you were questioning everything, and then Drew and Terry made you a focal point of the next training where you run through everything.
Yeah,
and seeing you today, you're a different person. You're confident. I remember that whole first retainer for you was the game changer. And I thought, well, he's in the same market as me. I checked out your website. I thought definitely similar jobs. could I figure out who the client was? That's my first thought. The old job advert routine. But no, on the back of it, if you could do it, then absolutely, I could do it. So I appreciate you being out there and being putting everything forward and your own concerns.
It's the group, everybody
absolutely
here. That's probably the most important thing, I think, is come to these sessions regularly and follow it. It works. So thank you both. No. Thanks.
Yeah, it's funny you should mention that, Luke, because I think we all remember that call with Nick, and somebody had correct me wrong. He was either going to play football, and he's making the statement, I'm going to score a hat-trick as well, because he just won these retainers, and there was just no stopping him that day. Yeah, I will never forget it. It was great to see. Yeah, great reminder. Andy.
Yeah, 1 second.
I'll see you. Hello, mate.
Can you see me?
I can't. There's no worries, mate. You keep talking.
I'm here. Don't you can see me okay, yeah?
Yeah.
Great stuff. Yeah, thanks, Luke.
Yeah.
Fantastic stuff. Thanks for that, Luke. Really, really good. Your journey. The question I had come to mind is, when you grew from being, you said, in the kitchen and then to where you are now, because how many staff do you employ now? How much you changed in a year for employed staff?
Right now we employ 8 people. I'm interviewing 3 people final next week. So but come the end of this quarter, we'll be at minimum 11 people.
Okay. And how did you move when did you first move into offices from out of your kitchen?
October the 4th was we first moved into our first office.
Okay. So how far was that into
about January, February, March, April, May, June, July.
10 months.
Okay.
10. Thank you. 10 months.
And this is October just gone?
Yeah, literally October the 4th just gone.
Okay, so you're great. So you were there you built quite a bit of money behind you then to move into an office.
Yeah, I actually, to be brutally honest, the catalyst was we had a really good couple of quarters, and we thought, right, this is now the time. Either we start building a team now, or do we stay doing this? I always, when I started the company, I wanted to build a business, so I set a rule in place, like, right, whatever we do, whatever decision we make, we'll have 6 months running costs in the bank. We stick to that, we'll be okay-ish. You know, you make investments and you make risk hires, of course, but so we built up a considerable, sizable cash in the business, and then went out to market. And obviously, we were a bit lucky because office rates were really good. You know, we're paying. I've got a 16-person office. You know, we pay pretty much nothing for.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Great. Thanks for that.
Excellent. And there's a couple of things that Mike Merrick touched on this around Luke's language. It's the absolute clarity, and he did it again there. He talked about what he wanted to do, so decided to have this amount of money in the bank, going to go for this type of office. If you listen close to some people, they will talk about what they don't want. So I don't want to be broke, and just that language is an indication of how people are thinking. Because you know, if you're talking about what you don't want, you're focusing on that's exactly what you're focusing on. That's what you're likely to attract. It's quite revealing, your language, Luke, where you talk about, you talk about what you want. This is what we're going to do, and this clarity, and that certainty, you can't help but pass it on to your hiring managers. So you talk about getting the retainer now. The hiring managers are thinking, yeah, this guy just knows he can do it. But if you're communicating, yeah, I want this retainer because I'm desperate for the money, and I don't want to work on contingency anymore. Unconsciously, the hiring managers, that's what they're picking up. So I think it's extremely revealing what you're sharing with. Some brilliant stuff here. Welcome to Michelle in South Africa and Manuel in America. Can't remember where. Sorry, Manuel, and also John Montgomery.
Hi, Luke. Hi, everyone. Yeah, really inspiring again. I think it's really cool just to see group member after group member doing so well. Luke, you definitely, we're in this program, me and Ines now, for quite a few months as well. So we've definitely seen a change in you as well. I was just wondering, you're saying you grow into 11 people probably next month or even this month. What are you aiming for? Do you want a company with 50 people, with 100 people, or do you say it's going to be enough when I'm with 15 or 20? What's your ultimate goal in terms of that?
I'm not looking at a headcount number, and the reason why for me is because I'd rather have a leaner team that bill more than 100 people doing 100K a year. You know, for us, I think if I read the other week, the average perm consultant in the UK, and this is probably just contingent, but the average perm consultant in the UK does 130 to 150,000. Here, part-time 25-hour person did 160 last year. Now I know we're in boom times at the moment. There's more work out there than anything else. So for me, you know, I look at the headcount plan on a per year basis. This year, we probably won't go past 15 people. I don't see the need to. I want sustainable growth. So, you know, we're in a future-proofing entire of the business right now, and scalable, but being scalable, taking that model and scaling it. For me personally, the end, you know, there is an end game, which is to IPO. Actually, as a complete transparency, we want to IPO, and we know what we've got to get to that point. But how we get there is if we can IPO with 50 people. But the business is doing over tens of millions. I'd much rather do that and have a higher cost base and we turn over slightly less.
Okay, cool. Very interesting. Yeah.
Thanks, Luke. Manuel?
Can you hear me just fine? Perfect.
Yeah.
Just listening to your story from where you were a year ago to now, I think it's very inspiring because, you know, I started a couple of months ago. Just from when you started to really take this seriously, like how did you structure your morning to kind of like say, like, you know what, this is what I'm going to be doing? And were you still doing a little bit of contingent, just, you know, trying to keep just to kind of keep the cash flow coming?
Okay, so yeah, two good questions. So in terms of my morning routine, it was Terry telling me just to trust him. that actually made me start taking it seriously. The way it was structured is, so it's the same now actually. I get up in the morning, I make my bed. It's the most important thing in my day, because if everything else goes wrong, I know at least I made my bed. I've done one thing right this morning, and that is powerful in itself. Just doing that. Then I do my affirmations. I do my yoga, morning stretches in the morning. I probably spend about an hour on my morning routine before I leave my house, and then from my house to the office, I'll listen to an audiobook or a pyramid. Sorry, I just had an email come through. Completely sidetracked me. I have listened to. So I've got something called Mentorist, which is an app. I don't know if you can get it outside of the UK, but Mentorist is an app which highlights certain areas from books, summarizes books, and makes action points. So I'll do things like that. I'll listen to a podcast as like my personal development thing. So one of the podcasts I'm leaving at the moment is a chap called Stephen. He created a social media empire, a social media marketing agency when he was
Stephen Bartlett.
Yep, Stephen Bartlett,
Yeah.
Diary of the CEO.
Yeah.
Amazing podcast. So I'll listen to that, and that's my sort of like a training thing right now, personal development. The key things, if you want a good way to structure your morning routine, best thing to do is read the 5 a.m. Morning Club. It was recommended to me by Don, I think he was, in the group, or actually might have been Terry, someone in the group, and that changed my life, my whole morning routine. You have to do something for every sort of area of your life, you know, your body, your brain, everything, really. Second part of the question, yes, I did. And Terry, cover your ears. I did it. We still occasionally take it on. If we're very interested in working with them or they fit our client model. However, I will tell you now, I won a very large company who are world renowned, have an amazing employer branding. We did a contingent and they completely, I can't swear, can I? They completely messed us around. Happy Sexy Millionaire, and the podcast is a diary of the CEO. He interviews some fairly. Also, Jordan Peterson. Just if anyone's got Jordan Peterson, life changer, absolute life changer. So I won a lot of contingency work during the process, but I got messed around a lot more, Manuel, than I do when we do retained. A lot more.
Yeah, I think everybody can relate to that. Yeah, thanks for that, Luke. So I'm going to take one more question. Come to John, then we're going to have to wrap up. John Montgomery, good afternoon. How are you, sir?
Good afternoon. Yeah, very well, Terry. How are you? All right?
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you.
Good. Luke, thank you very much for your time today. It's been, it's been quite inspiring in many ways. I think that probably the main thing that I need to take from it is be more specific about the people that I'm trying to work with rather than an inch deep and a mile wide, as you said, because I can't be everything to everyone. I need to be, a hell of a lot more refined. And I think probably clear in terms of the size, in terms of the investment, in terms of what they're looking to achieve to who I'm going to work with. Because at the moment, I've taken on a massive sort of industry sector that has so many different facets to it. And I'm trying to appeal to every single one of those people. And it just becomes diluted and it's almost a message of nothingness. So I think that's really, really key. And everything else I completely agree with. I'm already sort of on that journey. So yeah, I think as long as I start becoming a lot more clear with who I want to be, who I want to work with, so there's only one result, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, what market do you operate in? What's your industry?
Financial services.
Oh,
so think about how wide that can be, right?
So are we talking accountancy, banking, investment banking, equity
banking,
funds?
Insurance, investment funds at the moment, like literally anything. Consumer really focused.
So find an area. So when I looked at software sales as a whole, again, huge market, right? Mm-hmm. Tech sales is one of the fastest growing markets in the world. Record IPOs, all that stuff. I couldn't pick a particular market, so I picked a job title, enterprise AEs. That's what we focused on, and that's what we got good at. And that hedgehog concept we now do other stuff. We do marketing, we do customer success, but we are the best and I'm sorry, Nick, if you're still on the call, we are best at enterprise AEs within the software SaaS space. That's what our name is known for. But that's not just what I'm known for, it's what Johnny is known for, it's what Adams does professional services, so it's slightly different, but we are the best at what we do based on that HR concept. So don't be afraid to land and expand, pick a role, pick a job title, even if it's that vast, that you can make a good return on, and just go after that.
Fine, makes a lot of sense, yeah. And I could do that quite easily, to be honest.
There you go.
Excellent.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
John.
Cheers, Luke. Yeah.
Happy to help.
Luke, thank
Cheers,
you.
mate.
Thank you so much. I think for all of us, we can all learn something. What Luke's done is he's shared his journey. And here's a man, he's Paul up front and said he disliked business development, but look at the kind of business development he's doing now and the growth that he's actually experienced. One of the big takeaways from what Luke shared with us is making that decision. And he made a decision to raise his standards. There's no ifs or buts or maybes, but he said, this is where we're going. And had a well-defined niche and was crystal clear about what he's going to do. And I keep coming back to it, Luke, but just the way that you communicate what you do and what you're offering, it's so clear. There's no misunderstanding. We can all take something from that. And every week, probably every other week, I'm talking about modeling success. And if you do what a successful recruiter's doing, if you model what they do, you're going to get very similar results. So I can't thank you enough, Luke. That was absolutely brilliant.
Well, it's happy, Terry.
I absolutely love these sessions where you guys share something. So thank you very much for that, Luke. Thank you everybody for joining us. Just to remind you, we've got the catch up tomorrow. So 3 p.m. UK time. We're back tomorrow. Again, thank you for joining us. Until next time, folks, take care, take action, and be relentless.
Thanks, Luke.
Cheers, folks.
Cheers, guys.